And so we need to move the paraffin machines. Making sure they're not plugged in. So why don't we just throw them? Now, underneath here is our drain. We used to have to run the machine all the way over into the handicap bathroom and drain it in that drain. So one day I found this drain under here.
One day.
Actually, when they built this in '96, that manhole cover is supposed to be our Whirlpool drain. We were supposed to have water coming in here, and the Whirlpool was supposed to sit there. And then they decided to run power lines through it.
What?
Oh, that is a great idea.
Yeah, and so then we couldn't use it for our Whirlpool.
Water and electricity
Yeah.
mix well.
I do a combination. I do it every day.
Yeah.
I've heard those two go very well together.
Okay. You will need goggles if you don't have glasses on, so that it doesn't spray up into your
I
face.
always thought it was a benefit not to wear.
Here, what we use is the sinks. Has a little thing. You need to push this onto here. And you cannot use that sink because the only way this will go on is without the aerator on it. So I've just taken it off this one. If you've ever wondered why that's missing from this one, there's a method to my madness. Okay. Drain. Goes in the drain. Hold.
Ethan.
Make sure that it doesn't pop out of there. If it does, what will happen is you'll flood the floor here.
Oh boy.
Okay?
Okay.
So, we have a couple of different pairs of goggles. We have gloves because the cleaner that we use on these is pretty caustic. It really is. We used to have some really awful stuff when I would clean it. It would actually suck the air out of my lungs. And it would, yeah, it was really hard. And so it actually ate the bottom out of the bottle one day in the summertime here. So I was happy of that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
You grab me a gown.
Is Char going to be okay with that in here?
Yeah.
Okay. Just kind of
Guess we'll
worried.
see.
I got rid of the yucky stuff.
Anything else?
Yeah, just don't drink it all.
Okay. Other thing, if I'm cleaning this, I have this sweater on. I've worked with the patient. They maybe had a wound. If I reach in here, what are the chances of contaminating it, contaminating myself? And so, yep, you should wear a gown when you're cleaning it.
Are there aprons or something that can be worn too? Or
Maybe some facilities do.
like with your
Yeah.
PPE and everything?
And we don't go that far with this. What we're just trying to do is protect our clothes and a little bit of that. And if you don't have somebody to help tie the gowns in back, what you can do is tie them in front of you and just slip it over your head, and then it'll be tied. Okay? So, let's say we haven't done the Whirlpool in how long, and we know that this isn't clean because it's been getting all kinds of dust and goobers from the air. So, first thing we need to do is rinse this out, to try to rinse a lot of that. If you look in here, there's a lot of hair and stuff like that. If you have done a Whirlpool on a patient, there's going to be skin and oils and stuff. You've drained it out, and so you want to rinse. So we're going to rinse all the way around the edge. Try not to touch because this has been laying in the sink, so it's really dirty. Okay, our drain is open.
I remember. It's washing. Dang it!
So we don't pick that thing up and dump it in the sink.
No,
No.
it's not very practical.
It's-
Okay,
should.
if
We
you,
could.
some of you can just look in here, see what's floating around in there.
Oh yeah, dust bunnies.
Yeah, yeah. And so even when we're done with working with a patient, especially if we're using the Whirlpool to clean that wound, it's going to have a lot of stuff. When I did my clinical at St. Mary's, there was a toe laying in there.
A toe?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I said, oh, look at that. We picked it out and kept it to make, you know.
Oh, I thought you said a toe.
A toe, yes.
Yeah.
What else
I thought you said toenail.
I thought
No, it was a toe. It was like an auto debridement. The guy had lost. He was diabetic and had lost feeling in his foot, and
And you didn't know it came off?
no, yeah,
Those feeling.
Hey, look, my toe's gone.
yeah. You know, and it was just the very tip of the toe, and it was just a black little thing. I was like, what's that? Oh my gosh, it was his toe.
It wasn't
Okay.
a raisin or
This
anything?
tightens here. There is a really pretty heavy spring in here, and this comes up really fast. And so you really have to make sure that you're leaning on this, because if I let go of this and had my face here, it would hit me right in, and have I done that? That's how I've done that. And they're all like this. They're all really heavy in the spring. And so leaning down on it,
Not in the fall and the winter.
tightening. Pardon?
Nice.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for someone.
Only in the
Okay,
spring.
so up it goes, bucket goes under, down, lock, and remember, it needs to be tight, but it doesn't need to be cranked down 3 or 4 turns.
Okay.
Okay, so now, I'm gonna put water in the bucket.
There's a hole in the bucket.
I have to go to the bathroom.
And cleaning the whirlpool takes a very long time, so guess who gets to do it if you don't have a rehab? It's the PT assistants. That's why we need you to know how to do these. Each facility is just a little bit different. What we do is use kind of what your book tells you. So the book goes step by step.
Built-in thermometer or something on it?
It does have a thermometer on it, but not in here. And it's a 3-gallon bucket. And so I'm gonna use 3 gallons of water and 1 ounce, because that's what this says. And I'm actually not gonna use an ounce because it'll make too much suds and it'll take us all day to get it down. So there's our 1 ounce into our bucket. Some facilities will have you scrubbing with soap first and then doing the sanitizing after, depending on how much dirt was in there. Our toes.
Skin or
Yeah.
flesh.
So if you could move one of the coffee pots and plug that in.
Flesh and soul. Where's the skin? It's because flesh and blood and guts and zombies.
Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to run the turbine in the bucket of sanitizer. And the reason we want to run the turbine is because the turbine has had water from that Whirlpool going up in there, and so it has all kinds of crud in it. And somewhere, I think I gave somebody the other day a scrub. It's a yellow, yeah, right behind John there. So you'll either have some type of scrub device. Some facilities just use a wash rag, washcloth.
Can you use a brush, like a hand brush, soft
You know, the
brush?
problem with brushes is they're really hard to clean afterward. And so that's why a lot of facilities, remember well, you guys maybe don't remember, in the old days, at every sink, they had a nail brush so that you could, and then they started testing those brushes, and they had more germs on them than your fingernails did.
Doesn't that hold more
So,
germs? too?
Yes, and so what you'll find is you either need to get a clean one of these, like every week if you do a lot of Whirlpools, or they'll have
No, I heard you can
disposable.
put it in the microwave for a minute and it'll kill all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
if
Good
you just get it
suggestion.
wet,
Pardon?
like soak it and then put it in the microwave for a minute or two, it kills all that.
Put your toothbrushes in there too to clean everything.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna turn it on. And while it's running in the bucket, you're gonna scrub the Whirlpool.
Don't you need gloves on?
Oh, you're right.
I get a freebie now for a sketch.
Get your redemption.
I get a phone a friend.
And the reason one of the reasons I don't think of that is because I know that this isn't as bad as the other stuff we had, so I'm not afraid of it. But you're right, you should wear gloves. You should also, if you have long sleeves, take the sweater off so it's not. Yes.
And your hands, so you want it.
Make sure you scrub behind the thermometer. Okay, and then we're going to shut it off. And what I've done is I've kept the drain open. You can, if you think that you need more water in the bottom to do the scrubbing, you would just close the drain, but I leave it open so that it'll drain out as we're doing it. Okay, again, we're going to lift this up.
Don't hit your face.
And you're going to pour this into here. Because now my bucket is pretty clean, right? It's been in that same cleaner that everything else has been in. And if I take this out, set it over here, then I've contaminated it again. Yeah. So I want to leave this bucket in there until this all goes out and then I rinse it. The other thing you'll find is that, especially like this bucket, it sits over top of the drain, so it kind of makes a vacuum, and then it won't drain. And so one of the things I did where I worked was I took a 5-gallon bucket that had a good rim on it, and I cut slices in the bottom of that rim so that it would drain as I was doing it. And that really saved a lot of time for waiting for it to drain. It would take us an hour to clean the Whirlpool and fill the Whirlpool back up. So it does take a lot of time. So we'll wait for it to drain. Because what we need to do is we need to rinse the
Cold water,
the
warm
edges.
water, hot water.
You know, they say you can use cold water. It's just this old brain of
Go
mine.
ahead and say it, Pat.
I want to use warm water.
What do you want to do say?
No, but I don't want to do this. That's one of the reasons why I leave this metal end on here, is so that you guys can tell if you hit the inside.
Remember when you learned the difference between cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilizing? This is just disinfecting. This is not sterilized. There's still going to be some baggage left in there, but you know, and so you use common sense.
Well, I didn't know if you just ran some of this.
Yeah.
Pumped it out.
So we're going to say that all of that suds is out of there. And so now we have suds and that cleaner inside of the Whirlpool, or the turbine. Yes, thank you. So we're going to rinse that out. So we're going to fill the bucket back up again. You let the turbine run for 10 minutes with the solution in it, and you let it run for 10 minutes with the clean water in it, okay?
And you're actually cleaning the turbine.
Yes, in the 10 minutes while it had the suds in there, you're cleaning.
I see.
Now for 10 minutes we're going to rinse it.
I see.
Filter in the turbine?
Pardon?
Is there a filter in there at all?
It just sucks the water up and adds air to it and spits it out. Yep. The only time it has a filter in it, I remember doing a wound on a lady, and I couldn't figure out what the heck was wrong with the Whirlpool. It was making a real funny noise, and when I took it out to clean, a piece of the gauze had got
Oops.
up inside there. Yeah.
Oops.
So I was like, oh, okay. It does, but the good thing about skin and that type of stuff is that is usually heavier and stays down to the bottom.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to run it for the 10 minutes. It's going to clean. This machine has the ability to change the amount of agitation. So I can do that with this. So you can kind of hear that it's not bubbling the water at all. Or I can have lots of it. If I go too far, it will come out. Oops, the other way. Sorry. It'll come out here. The thing you have to remember when you're practicing is to make sure the end of this is over the thing here, because if this turbine gets turned, all the water outside. Okay.
Very good.
And what this is for, if I had a patient and they had a wound here and I couldn't get their knee in, I can turn this on and do hydrotherapy to that knee.
What's the pressure
from
on
out
the
here.
water coming out?
I don't know. You can adjust it by how much you have coming out of here.
Okay, yeah.
Sanitizing it?
Pardon?
When you're sanitizing it, do you want to run something?
Yes. If I have run water for the patient through this, then I would. If I haven't used it, the water isn't going through it anyway, so
All good.
yeah.
It doesn't go through it until you turn the
Correct.
turbine over and off.
Off.
Yep. This one right here. Yep. Yeah.
How often are we actually going to be scrubbing wounds?
It
and stuff
depends.
and
You'll
Where you
be.
work.
every
Yeah,
day?
depends on where you work, and even
why I don't
where you
go to
work,
nurses.
it seems like it goes in streaks. I think the physicians will go to a seminar where they'll say, you know what, in the old days when we did a lot of whirlpools on those wounds and on that hand, it really worked well, so they'll start ordering
We'll start doing it
whirlpools.
over and over.
When
Yeah,
I was a rehab aide for NovaCare, I worked between Chris Jensen, Lakeshore Lutheran, and Viewcrest, and as an aide, and I cleaned, and Fieldview and Superior, and I bet you I cleaned 2 a day.
Wow.
And, but that was back when we put iodine and betadine in the water, like all these caustic agents, and we were trying to heal the wounds, and miraculously they still healed, so we don't do that anymore, but,
and you'll work with, when I worked out at Poplar with Lynn, she used a lot of whirlpools for people who had carpal tunnel. She would get them exercising and working in there. If you use that water to go against the palm, it'll help open that up, so you can use it for increased range of motion. It doesn't have to be just used for wounds, but it just depends on the PT that you work with and the physicians that you work with in the area.
and with closed skin, if there's no wound,
Yeah.
you're probably more apt to use it, because if you're not 100% expert in disinfecting it, they're not going to get infected if there's nothing open. It's the clinics that have stopped using them, like St. Mary's just took out their covered tank because it took so long to do, and they would bring people in because they weren't cleaning it good enough, and so they took it out. And so, I would say there's many more options for wound care, but this is probably used more for just your hydrotherapy.
And there are PTAs who have gone on to get wound care specialty certifications, and so they just specialize in wound care. They will do it.
Won't be me.
Oh, I love wounds. They're so nice.
Oh, yeah.
I love wounds because they're daily changes.
Yes.
And if you ever get bored with people not making progress, wounds make progress daily.
no
And
matter
so
what.
it's very rewarding because you make, big differences.
Help the guy
Sell.
clean the
I'm
tank.
not. That's not my cup
You know,
of tea.
I'll get paid to just clean the tank.
The thing is, in PT,
Yeah, I'll clean the tank. You treat the
probably
wound.
half to 75% of our wounds are diabetic patients, and so they don't feel any way, and so if you're thinking about, picking that necrotic tissue out of there and causing pain,
No, it's
not only
gross.
can they not, they can't feel that, but they're just so
Necrotic
appreciative because you're finally getting that necrotic stuff out of
Yeah.
them.
And you're preventing an amputation.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Just the words and all.
And so you want to make sure all that suds is out of there?
So once all the suds-
None of that.
Once all the suds is drained down, what your book says is to take, you want to grab me, I did need something else, grab me a towel. It says to grab, and a sheet. It says to take a clean towel, wipe the inside down with a clean towel, And then kind of the universal sign that the Whirlpool is clean is that we put a sheet over top of it. So we're gonna,
After the suds are all gone, you're saying?
after the suds is all gone,
See
and
why you
the,
didn't use it very much.
yes, it's still there.
So is it just plain water they use now for this?
No, I used a cleaning agent.
No, I'm saying when they're doing yours, is it just plain water basically?
Yes.
No.
Yes, some facilities will use stuff like they'll add a quarter of a cup of salt to it because
help.
our body is has a little bit of saline in it naturally, you know, so.
So do you have to clean the outside too? No.
Only if you want it to look nice.
I
Yeah.
would say routine, just like you
Yeah.
do everything else.
Yeah, like the hot pack machine, every once in a while we'll clean the outside of that.
I mean, if you had a patient rub up that had some kind of wound on there, it could have
Oh, yeah, that I
contamination.
would,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But, yes,
So here's my question. What if you have somebody with HIV or AIDS?
I've done a lot of HIV patients as far as wound care and stuff. You just have to take the precautions of gloving, gowning.
Universal precaution.
Yep.
You're just
Nothing's-
protecting yourself here.
Yep.
Has there ever been any
Nothing's stuck.
instances of where PTAs or PTs have gotten it from not properly?
I'm
Protecting.
sure there is
That's just
some
negligence
instances
on
of that, but I,
their part,
You would
though.
have to have a
Yeah.
treatment.
yeah,
Yeah.
It would be sick.
yeah, it's,
There was
Yeah,
a,
that.
I'm sure
I
if
went
you
to a
just-
seminar on
PTs.
HIV last year, and one of the statistics they said is